Hello guys, welcome back to the ChinWag Podcast, Season 2, here with your regular hosts, me Matt,
me Tom,
me Luke,
and today we have a very special guest, Sari.
Hello.
How are you today, Sari?
I'm good, I'm glad to be here, glad it's sunny.
Making a return in Season 2.
Yeah.
We are really lucky today that we're outside and it's nice weather, so it's almost perfect conditions for this podcast.
Perfect podcasting conditions.
And we've put up some lovely windbreaks as well.
We're such English people, like, not even 1 minute in and I mentioned the weather, like.
Yeah. How's the weather then?
Remember to follow us on Twitter at ChinWag Podcast and on Instagram at Official Chinwag. Now, Luke, I believe you will be introducing our topic for today.
Yes, and thank you for, you've kind of introduced it today with social media.
Yes.
So today is our social media episode. So we're going to talk about social media and how it impacts on our generation, maybe more than other generations in the past. So, Sari, I'll start off with you as our guest. What social media platforms do you have?
Well, I'd say I have like all the basic ones, like Facebook, Snapchat, Insta, and then there's like
All those plugs.
go follow me, guys. And then I go on Twitter a lot as well. I'd say I use that one the most.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising, actually. I think Twitter, probably about 5 years ago, I think, would probably be the most popular. But I'd say it's, spot number 4 now?
I'm not sure, but when I first got Twitter, I didn't like it, but I think it's just because I didn't understand it. But if you think about other social media platforms, you see kind of like memes and jokes, a lot of it, stems on Twitter.
It does, actually, because if you look at, especially on Instagram, you get a lot of sort of pictures taken of tweets which have gone viral. But me, myself, I actually have a really, not unhealthy relationship with Twitter. I just don't enjoy Twitter. I don't understand how to use it. It's not even that, it's just that I don't know how to interact properly with people on it. I'm just like a humble observer of what other people are saying.
I see what you mean, yeah. I think, right, and this is just my opinion, and it's probably a very controversial opinion. I think Twitter's going the way that Facebook went, and I think Instagram will go this way as well. Because Facebook, when we were like 10, it was all the young people, like between our age, and then the old people started getting Facebook.
Thing when you're like, well, not even 13, but when you're like
12
10, and
10,
you're like,
yeah.
I've got Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. And it was
But of course,
all
you
young
wouldn't be on
people
Facebook when you were 10 because you had to be 13 to get it.
But then it was all about young people on their Facebook, and then the older people gradually crept on, and people moved to Twitter. And now I think that same thing's happening with Twitter, where the older generation's sort of moving on to it, and then younger people are moving on to Instagram.
I actually think that I'm going to get straight into this, but I actually think that Twitter's becoming more and more important, especially when you consider politicians and influential people. It's just a way of, instead of them talking to the press or whoever, they can just put their
opinions straight out there, unfiltered,
facts or whatever you want to call it, down.
You've got people like Katie Hopkins and Donald Trump who use Twitter maybe too controversially.
And I think Katie Hopkins is permanently banned now.
Yeah, she got permanent banned for racist comments, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But also, I think Twitter's it's the most significant social media platform when it comes to cancel culture.
Yeah.
Because I go on Twitter loads and you can see the topics people are talking about, and weekly is someone's cancelled for something.
I think Ellen's cancelled this week, isn't she?
Cancel culture to me, because I don't understand. How can you cancel someone? I don't get it.
Basically, it's like when a figure, personality, someone famous does something bad, and people just say, "Oh, so and so is cancelled." It's their way of saying, "Okay, we're no longer going to support them."
It's forever.
Yeah, I think so.
Until people forget.
Or until people forget.
It's until people forget.
Reconcile or whatever, I guess.
Fickle.
Sometimes I think it can be a good thing or whatever. I think a way to describe it is a way that the masses can cyberbully a celebrity, but not always for, I think sometimes it can be overdone.
Definitely, I don't know when it all started, but I feel like when it did, it wasn't as big as it is now. It's bad when people.
It's got a name now,
yeah.
So it's definitely got a whole.
Cancel culture is essentially boycotting somebody because of something they've done or said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way of saying it, I'd say.
Yeah.
But does that apply to someone, say, I don't know, John Hopkins, whatever his name is? Not John Hopkins, but just say John Hopkins posted something 5 years ago, and somebody scrolled down on his timeline, and he said that I hate everyone.
I think was it Kevin Hart that happened to recently? Or I don't know, someone made some jokes, 5-10 years ago, and like they went unnoticed or whatever because they weren't big back then, and then someone scrolled through their timeline, found something like that was considered more offensive these days, and then like they all blew up recently.
I think that's happening to quite a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because people are trying to judge people are trying to judge comments that were made in the past using today's standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens a lot with YouTubers, I've noticed. Like, I don't want to name names because, like, that would be adding to it. But like,
Shane Dawson and
Tom's going to do it then.
I'll name them.
Otherwise, then the ChinWag Podcast is officially outing them.
We're now involved in YouTube beef.
Oh my god.
That'll get some views.
yeah.
Keemstar's going to like burst into the garden.
Yeah.
But obviously, like Shane Dawson, someone unearthed like old videos, and then his name gets mentioned into Twitter, and then like bigger names will get involved into it.
I think a lot of the problem, with old videos coming up like that, is that people with a small platform back then are judged less because they've got close viewers who are interested in their topic and invested in their people. But then when you become a big YouTuber or whatever, people who aren't necessarily involved in you or get your sense of humor watch your videos, and then they blow it up, if you know
Definitely.
what I mean. Because like, if you'll just have a little video for a few people that has some personal opinions on, they probably don't care. But then when they're watched 10 years down the line, if you're successful and big, then it's viewed by different things.
But at the same time, if it's something that you shouldn't be doing anyway, I feel like I understand your point, but some of the things that Shane Dawson did isn't okay, like even if it's just a few people watching it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like legitimately a problem, but I think sometimes it's
What did Shane
overdone.
Dawson do?
So
Something to do with his cat, wasn't it?
no, it wasn't even that. That was quite a few. That was like the first time like he
His
got
cat.
cancelled, because like he said, when do people get cancelled? Until like a lot of people have cancelled him before, but a couple months ago,
Like a cyberman.
people
Really?
found like a video of him doing blackface, which is obviously unacceptable. So
Yeah.
And then there were comments, I think there were comments made about, was it Will Smith's daughter?
yeah, Willow
Oh.
Smith, and it was like to do with a poster of her when she was like 11 years old, and obviously him being like, in his 20s at the time, like the
Yeah.
comments and the act that he did, it was not, he considered it as a joke, but it wouldn't be funny to some people, like obviously to Willow Smith's family. Jaden Smith, I think, called him out, and Jada Pinkett Smith, Willow's
Yeah,
mother,
definitely.
did too.
I think some things like that definitely needed to be said. But yeah.
But the question is, if you look back on probably season 1 of ChinWag Podcast, you would find something not incriminating, but something not right with it.
Yeah.
Probably.
So,
it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
some of
definitely.
it.
So something's definitely moved on from then. Something's progressed. But the question is, does social media, or in fact, to an extension of that, Twitter, exacerbate stuff which other times people just forget about and people would?
Oh yeah,
care
massively.
about?
If you look at Come Fly With Me and what was it, Little Britain, they're programs that are what, 10, 15 years old? No, Come Fly the other one must be nearly 20 years old, surely.
Little Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite old.
It must be like nearly 20 years old, but they had some like a lot of blackface and a lot of that sort of thing, and it was never, I guess it wasn't, I don't know because I was young back then, but I don't think it was called out back then. But now with social media, they're all sort of coming back up and they're being called out for having blackface in it, and like now, so many years after it's come out, now is the time where it's being taken down because of social media.
I think a lot of it is as well is that now at this point in time we know better.
Yeah.
We know better with a lot of these things, and I think it's very easy to look back on things with hindsight, but I think there's some of the reasons that they may have been created at the time is because people who were writing them or people who were deciding about them simply didn't know any better,
Yeah, weren't
maybe.
informed, yeah.
And also with social media, you can you're like in contact with people you don't exactly live close to, so you might, like, obviously when it first came out with the blackface, there would have been people that didn't think it was okay, but maybe they didn't feel like they could talk to anyone about it.
Didn't have a
and now,
platform.
Yeah, but now they
Yeah.
have a platform and they can speak to people that would have faced that sort of, annoyance and like about it. They can like talk together.
Yeah, you could, like, if someone was offended by Little Britain, how are they're not going to be able to talk to, I can't remember his name, David Walliams, is it?
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to, like, back when it first came out, they're not going to be able to be like, this is offensive to him, because they can't get in contact with him, they can't. But now there's stuff like Twitter, you can just at him and people will like it or whatever, and people like that get seen. You know, they didn't used to get heard because, you know, sending someone a letter is, you know, is not going to do anything, is it?
Yeah, so in a way that's a positive of social media. It gives people the platform to say their piece about something. And
But I also think that's a negative aspect of, I'm not going to extend it to social media because I kind of like some social media, but I definitely think a problem with Twitter is that it gives a voice
To too
a
many
powerful
people.
voice to it gives a loudspeaker to a midget kind of thing. So you can have someone,
maybe not a midget, maybe someone who doesn't deserve a loudspeaker, but
it just gives a loud voice to other people. So I think if you definitely are living in a more progressive time, or so it seems because of social media.
But then it also gives a loudspeaker to people like anti-vaxxers and 4G coronavirus people.
And at both you can look at both ends of the spectrum on anything, and you can compare it. There's always a good middle ground. But I'd think if social media existed something like, I don't know, let's say just after the war, in the 50s or the 60s, do you think that movements such as I don't know, civil rights movements in America or stuff, all of that would get passed sooner because people had a voice about it? Or do you think that it wouldn't necessarily affect it as much?
I think... No, go on. You go first, go on.
No, you.
Because I was going to say, I think that one of the things about it was a lot of the things back then, they were amplified across the media. I mean, things like the war in Vietnam, that was the first war where the general public could see videos of what was actually going on.
Yeah.
And the fact that people can actually see what's going on in the world meant that the opinions of the war in lots of people's eyes changed drastically. And I think that, as with a lot of things going on nowadays, because people can actually see videos of stuff,
unbiased criticism,
yeah,
raw thing.
It's like a unregulated media. Well, it's a little bit regulated, but it's not regulated media as in like the government could tell you what you can and can't post, or like they could with the newspapers or whatever. It's more
because in England you have the BBC, and the BBC has to be politically unbiased between both parties. It needs to cover everything. But in certain other countries you have other political news stations that are biased in one way or another.
I wonder which country you're talking about.
How many of you watch American news?
It's funny.
There's such a contrast.
Because they're so biased. It's so ridiculous.
It's crazy.
You watch CNN and they basically all they talk about is Trump in a negative way, which I can kind of understand, but there's other news to cover, but that's literally all they do. And you look at something like Fox, and no matter what Trump does, they praise him.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
They say like, oh, he must be joking when he makes a stupid statement like, oh, you obviously can't see the humour about when he's said a wrong fact, and they just think it's a joke rather than him being seen out or whatever.
It's the thing about that, because somebody shares the same beliefs, they are willing to overlook things, or they are more able to, I guess, side with them, but then also more able to connect as well. So you're saying that, they say that, Trump said something because it was a joke. But I think that people because there's two ways to take that. There's either he made a mistake or he was saying it as a joke. And because if somebody shares your same beliefs, it's sort of an us versus them mentality. So you're more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's where I see in America at the moment. It's like, I probably know it won't happen, but it just feels like it's building up to some sort of civil war because it's so...
I definitely think that's a Twitter perception.
No, I think it's just such a divided country.
I know, but...
I don't think it will actually come to blows, but
it's definitely divided,
it makes me think of the Cold War.
It's definitely not.
It makes me think of the Cold War.
Of course, we're saying this as outsiders looking in.
Yeah. But like, I don't think it will, and I hope it doesn't. But the way that the country is so divided from left to right, there's no center really in America. Really,
no.
There's just, you're either a huge Trump fan who believes that you should have all the guns you want, or you're very liberal and you think there shouldn't be school shootings. But I think there's so few middle ground. It's that, and that's because of the media being biased.
But would you say that's the media being biased, or would you say that's the influence of I wouldn't say extremists, but extremists on both ends of the economic spectrum?
I think one fuels the other, and then the other fuels the other one.
I definitely think, not moving on from politics, did you see the tweet Elon Musk said about the pyramids?
That they are alien or whatever.
No, so his quote is something like, "The pyramids were built by aliens of," which I took as a complete joke. I think
that would be a joke.
I didn't think anybody would take that seriously. And then I look on the news, and it's like one of the top headlines saying Elon Musk fuels conspiracy that the pyramids were not built by us or whatever.
Yeah, he's got that sense of humour, hasn't he? Where it's like,
if you call it humour,
dry humour, isn't it? Is that what you call it, dry humour?
But then again, you've got things like his wife messaged him on Twitter saying, essentially, "Shut up right now." in a more polite.
About another topic.
Of course, it was about another topic, but
pyramids were built by aliens. Shut up!
Did you see that Egypt retweeted him saying like, "Come visit and we'll prove it"?
Yeah.
You know what? The Egyptian government or whatever, I don't know, the travel society or whatever.
It's ridiculous, but I definitely think there's a lot of instances on. I'm going to stick with Twitter, just because we're on that topic, that people say things in a jokey and do way, but because you don't get a tone from that, you can interpret it as another thing.
But taking it back to social media, like you were saying how there's no kind of like middle, you're either like on each side. Could you say that it used to be like that, but we just didn't know because there was no social media at the time? Because whenever I think back to it, maybe I just don't know as much as you, but like post-war, I think of it as being like the sort of hippie culture and the people that just weren't hippies, and I feel like that was still a divide.
Probably,
so maybe it's just more, I get what you're saying, but amplified just because we see people talk about it on social media, and I feel like the people in the middle wouldn't exactly be the ones
to voice their opinions.
I don't know, because did you look at Twitter in the run-up to, I don't want to talk about this, but the election?
Which election?
Our election in December, the British one. Did any of you look at Twitter for that? Because it was quite interesting, but come polling day, the Labour was trending, and there were people saying on it that they saw queues outside the polling booths and all of them are voting Labour, and the youthquake is happening, Jeremy Corbyn's PM confirmed, all of that. And it's almost as if you just took Twitter, you would think, well, obviously, because the whole run-up to the election was criticising Boris and it was all support for Jeremy. I didn't actually once see a pro-Boris thing on Twitter, it was all Jeremy.
I think but then that's also a generational difference, because I think our generation, especially things like Instagram, is used way more, but even Twitter, where I think it's probably the age for Twitter is more,
I think it's
20
age.
to 35 or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
And I think also a lot of people wouldn't want to say if they were voting.
That's the whole thing on Twitter, is that there's an accepted view on it which you can't share, and you can share an alternative.
What happened with, and it's thought that the same thing happened in America in the 2016 election. What essentially happened was one side was vilified by the other. So everybody says, I'll take the 2016 election in America. Everybody who was in America the majority of people who in America made it out that Trump was bad and Hillary was good. And if you voted for Trump, you wanted all of these things to happen. So everybody said, if you vote for Trump, you're a bad person. If you vote for Hillary, you're a good person. So every single time somebody was asked by anybody else in the general population who you support, of course, depending on who it is, most people would say, oh, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton because she was portrayed as the good side.
I mean, in that example, she did win a majority, just not by points.
Mm-hmm. But then as soon as you walk into a voting booth,
you don't have to listen to anybody, and nobody knows what you put.
Nobody knows what you put on that ballot paper. Nobody knows whether you tick Hillary, you tick Trump, or I know you put a cross, but nobody knows if you draw a panda on your ballot box and spoil your paper. And it's also I believe it's illegal as well to take a photograph of your ballot.
Yeah, I think you're not allowed to take any photos or videos inside voting booths.
Yeah.
But how is that? Like, I understand why you're not supposed to, but how would they know which ballot paper is yours and say, oh, we have to take it out? Or do they just?
I don't think they take it out.
I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just you're
spoiling the results.
It's almost a psychological thing where it's not spoiling it, but if you take a picture of something and spread it on election day, you're encouraging people. That's why the BBC or Sky can't do an exit poll before 10 p.m. when polls close, because they view that if they release the exit poll saying
it will
X,
skew
Y, Z
the results.
It could influence people's voting.
Even if that's right or wrong, it's going to influence people to go.
Because if you see your sides losing, you might be more inclined to go out and vote.
And that's what I think happened with with the 2016 election in America and the 2019 referendum election in England, people vilified one side, and one side was seen as good and one side was seen as bad. So when all of these independent polls went out and asked who are you going to vote for or what are you going to vote for, everybody voted for the quote-unquote good side. But then as soon as people went into the voting booth, nobody else knows what they did. So they could vote for whatever they wanted to, and then when they came out and the results came around and the quote-unquote bad side or bad decision won, everybody could turn around and say, well, I didn't do it, was it you?
Yeah, but also I think, especially when it's coming back to social media, I think due to the fact that social media is such a generational thing, it's so skewed because, I mean, like, people who use social media may be more inclined to vote one way, and then the older generation may be more inclined to vote the other way. So it seems like one side is more likely to be voted
it's a
for
silent majority almost.
Exactly, because that's the voices you hear from on social media more often than not. And obviously there's like, you know, outliers and all that, but the majority of posts on social media are from younger people.
And a lot of the things as well is that as with all these companies, they're collecting your data on you, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But the thing is as well is that your ads and your tweets or anything that's targeted to you is targeted towards your political view. So you, as hypothetically saying, you as a Labour voter are very unlikely to see Labour bashing tweets or pro-conservative tweets. You're very likely to see what the political party that what the social media defines as your supported party.
I'm defined as a hardcore Labour supporter then, because I've never seen a pro anything else tweet.
Do you know what I always get though, and it's really weird because I always get these. Alright, okay. So you know on Instagram Discover where you're scrolling through and you go from one topic to another topic to another topic. I start looking at Japanese cars. I like JDM, you know, I'm looking at all these cars, right? And then I'm looking at the cars.
Do we know where this goes?
And then cars turns to trucks, and then trucks turns to Donald Trump and guns and like Republican stuff. Like every time I'm looking
Why are you following?
No, seriously, I'm looking at these Japanese cars and I'm scrolling down through cars, and then it goes from modded cars, and then it goes to modded trucks, then it goes to like American, you know, like trucks, and then it just turns to like all this Republican propaganda.
Is that the, like, you have the brain, and then you have like the brain with things shooting out of it, and then you get to Republican like...
No, I don't even know how it gets there.
You're at like the very brink of the semantic field, and then ever so slightly every time you go from cars to trucks and then trucks.
I don't even like trucks, but it just comes up after, you know, when you just scroll and it slowly changes.
I've never scrolled for trucks on.
No, I don't like trucks. That's the thing. I don't like them.
But you went that far down on scrolling for
I
cars.
do. I get really bored and I scroll for hours until I'm looking at something completely different to the thing that I started looking at.
So that leads to another thing about social media. Do you feel like you're addicted to it? Like you're saying you don't even want to look at it, but you're still looking at all the pictures. 100%. I think I am addicted to social media. Like in a good way, bad way? Bad way, 100%. Like some social medias, I think like, I've got a healthy relationship with, like Discord, for example. Yeah.
I sit there and I call my friends, or I message people and I just sit there chatting with them. I think that's not amazing, but you know, that's relatively healthy. I'm talking to people, I'm engaging in conversation. But I think I have a extremely unhealthy relationship with Instagram, because I'll sit there and I'll scroll through it and I'll check my timeline and I'll see whatever's on there. Then I'll go to the little magnifying glass page, Discover, and then I'll just sit there and I'll just idle-mindedly scroll for like 2 hours sometimes.
Well, at least you haven't gone on it since the podcast started.
No.
Oh, shade.
Oh, no.
Shade.
Outed.
You have been really
Actually,
outed.
sorry, I was checking my activity on Insta, and it's 45 minutes average a day.
Was that the ChinWag account though?
No, it was, yeah I can't defend that. But that's quite. I average about 45 minutes. I've checked.
See, I think that's
and it's always
relatively
about
fine. I think that. See,
I don't want to see this.
I've used it a lot less in the last few weeks, because at one point we were talking as a group and our friend Tommy, he said, I looked at it and I was scroll. What was it? He averaged like an hour a day or something like that.
It was 30
and then
minutes.
Or 30 minutes, and he said, this is too much. I deleted it. So I said, okay, I'll have a look at mine to see what I've been average, and it was like 4 hours or something like that. 4 hours on Instagram alone. Ooh. So I've now cut down. I don't even know.
Okay,
a day.
So
that's the thing.
4 hours.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because I just sit there at night and just scroll through without like, oh, it's one. It's
I
like,
go cross-eyed if I go on Insta.
Okay, so this is my interactions on just my phone for this week. Total screen time this week from Monday to Sunday, 37 hours 43 minutes. Most used apps, 1 2 3 4. The top 5 are Messenger with 1 hour 54 minutes, Instagram 2 hours 14 minutes, Facebook 2 hours 44 minutes, YouTube 4 hours 51 minutes, and TikTok.
I knew it.
No.
10 hours, 81 minutes. 81
Are
minutes.
you going in ascending order?
Yeah, in ascending order. TikTok.
You actually are. Oh no.
Oh no. Luke is an ego.
TikTok.
He's showing me the phone. Oh my god, I wasn't. I under-exaggerated.
How many hours?
A day.
A week.
No, I made a joke and said 8 hours. It is 11 hours, 32 minutes
So that's
on TikTok.
That's just under 2 hours a day.
Pretty
Luke
much,
knows all the dances. Luke does the renegade every day.
And you still don't read your messages. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you still can't get a straight reply from him, but it's because he's busy on TikTok learning the dances.
You'd have
Okay.
no chance if you made a TikTok with subliminal messages to me.
Okay, so I don't have a TikTok account myself. I've downloaded the app, and you can use the app without making an account.
I used to think you used to say that to me a lot when I teased you for using TikTok, and now I was like, okay, that's a valid excuse.
Have
He's
you
not
got
got an
TikTok
account.
now?
I don't know.
I don't have an account. I just have the app on my phone, and I just scroll through recommended.
But then you scroll through for 12 hours.
a week. It was in a week. Okay,
Yeah.
it's lockdown, and
That's a fair excuse.
yeah.
You want to get TikTok?
I've done the same music. I've downloaded it, not made an account.
Thank you.
But I've deleted it now because
Thing is, though,
I
right?
basically downloaded it because my housemate made a TikTok and I wanted to like it.
That's a valid reason.
That's a kind
support of
reason.
Social media.
I mean, I downloaded it because a couple of people that I knew started TikTok.
I think it's like I always make jokes about it and laugh about TikTok, and I don't have it, and I probably won't get it. But I do see them on Instagram. It's not like I'm not seeing any
Yeah.
TikToks. So I do see like probably
Okay.
a quarter of the
Always out
content on Instagram now is just screen recorded from TikTok.
There is some.
Nothing's from Insta anymore.
There is some really good stuff on there. There is some really good stuff. There's also some really bad stuff on there. There's also
TikTok?
on TikTok, yeah. There's
So it's
some
all bad stuff.
dark humor and there's some like normal mainstream humor.
And a lot of cringy
Yeah,
stuff.
there is some cringy stuff on. But then again, cringe is whatever you define as being cringe.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, actually, Matt, now what you just said like made me think. Instagram has very little original content because a significant portion of it is screen recorded from TikTok. A significant portion of it is screenshots from Twitter, and quite a lot of it is screenshots from Reddit.
But have you seen Reels? Insta Reels.
That's supposedly Facebook's competition to
Yeah, because now so
TikTok.
you know how, in my opinion anyway, Insta outdid Snapchat. I think
Yeah.
Snapchat's irrelevant now because of Insta.
I think the stories feature on the stories feature on Instagram is outdoing Snapchat's.
Yeah, well that's what I
Stories.
think.
Yeah, I
But
agree
then
with that.
Now they're doing Reels, which is just TikToks on Instagram, but they're called Reels. And now they come up in my timeline, and I'm like, I can't escape TikTok.
I've just started seeing them, but I've not really looked at them yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I see what you mean about Snapchat becoming irrelevant because I used to, if I wanted to catch up with what people were doing, I'd watch Snapchat stories, but now I'd watch Instagram stories. But like, I
Yeah.
think I still use Snapchat a lot as like a messaging, like one-to-one
Do you?
messaging people. Yeah.
Do all of you use?
I mean,
Snapchat? Do you use?
We organised the podcast on Snapchat.
No, but that's the only thing I use Snapchat for.
Really?
I like using Messenger better, but there's some people I do Snapchat, and I feel like you always message me on Snapchat.
I always message you because I think you're on Snapchat.
No, I always like using Messenger. That's why I message you on Messenger.
Oh, I message you on Snapchat because I think you use Snap. Okay.
But I think that is the thing though, isn't it? Because we all think, because for the whole time we were
The
at school,
market's become
Snapchat was the
oversaturated.
thing,
Yeah.
and we'd all, because we were school friends, we'd talk to each other on Snapchat. But now, even if we are not necessarily using Snapchat as much, we're just sticking to what we know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those things that certain people will message people on certain things. So I message certain people on certain apps.
Do you message people?
Yeah.
Why have I
After
got the
the-
feeling this is just
So
a
you're just
character
on
assassination of Luke Thompson today?
Because to be honest, if I could pick a messaging app to always use, it would be WhatsApp, I think.
Really?
I like
Really?
WhatsApp.
I think it's clunky.
I don't like using WhatsApp. I prefer Messenger.
Yeah, more than Messenger. That's surprising.
I don't know, but I feel like I do like Messenger. I'm fine with Messenger, but I kind of like WhatsApp.
Do you know what I hate about WhatsApp? When I'm sure you can probably turn it off if you look into it, but when it automatically saves the pictures to your phone.
Oh, the family WhatsApp group.
Yes, that's literally what I was going to say. Everything that they send, even these stupid pictures, but they're all just downloaded onto my phone. I don't look at my pictures, and then I come back to it a month later, and I've got all this crap on my pictures.
I hate it, but I love it. That's why I haven't turned it off. I like moaning about it, but I like seeing the picture.
I'm just too lazy to turn it off.
Yeah. And to be fair, some of them are nice pictures, so I save them to my phone.
Yeah, but I'd rather have the option to save something than you're going to have this saved.
You can do that from Messenger, can't you? You can do that from Instagram as well. It all saves you.
What, automatic save?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. But it's an option that's turned off to begin with.
Yeah, it's a default off.
Whereas WhatsApp, it's default on. And I don't even... Can you turn it off?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
What I like about WhatsApp, though, is that you can change the picture at the back to what you can.
Is that across the phones? Is that like...
It doesn't change it on the other person's phone.
Okay.
Just on yours.
Yeah, I was worried about that when I tested it, actually.
I think what I do like about WhatsApp is how simple it is.
It is, yeah.
It does remind me a lot of normal
just
text
traditional
messages.
text messages.
And it's a good way of getting people's phone numbers as well, because I feel like with social media you never get anyone's phone numbers, and like, not that like you use it a lot, but there's going to be a time where you need to call someone, and I'm like, I don't have their number, but I'm on a WhatsApp chat with them, and I can now call them because of it.
Oh, yeah.
So
no, that is true, actually. Out of my university friends, I've probably got 3 or 4 of their phone numbers.
Oh, special. That's
exactly
elite status.
Like, you just have them on Snapchat or Instagram or
But then like
whatever.
there comes a time where suddenly you just have to call them or something, and maybe you don't have Wi-Fi, and it is just good to have their phone number.
Yeah, actually, I never thought of it that way. And
It's
that
like
is
the hybrid. But on Messenger, you can do numbers, can't you? Because some people don't have Facebook, but have got Messenger, and they use their numbers to
kind of me. I just have Messenger set up now.
Not Facebook.
No. Nah. I think, can we make this point? Is Facebook now irrelevant as a debate?
I think it is for people our age. I think older women, it is like a big deal.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. That is the thing.
That is the thing.
Because I'd say, like, you know, it's weird for us to say, oh, we can cancel it because we don't use it, but there's such a big, like, age of like people that still use it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, are you guys in any Facebook groups at all?
Well,
Facebook Messenger groups?
No, as in Facebook groups, as in groups of people who like share a similar topic.
No, but that's all my uni. The only reason, well, not the only reason. The main reason I have Facebook is just for uni stuff. Like that, everything's arranged on Facebook. Group chats are made on Facebook.
Here you go, like
pages
groups,
are made, whatever.
like Facebook groups. Like
I'm in. Never been on anything like that.
I'm in the Universal Audio Apollo users because we're using an Apollo. Ableton Live users, COVID Doctors Forum, Logic Pro users, Flying Forum.
Superman's on that.
your village one.
Yeah, your
West
village
Ham
group.
Live.
Are you on that?
I'm not, purely because we got outed on it years ago.
It's so good.
It's quite
And then a couple of
beefy
uni
5
ones,
years
and then
ago, we
after
got
D2
outed on
builders
there.
It's like you get
hooligans or whatever it was.
Every 2 or 3 days, somebody can post like a complaint or a comment, and it blows up. Like it gets 80 comments.
What sort of thing are they about, though?
Noisy neighbours. It can be dog picking. It can be like a dodgy van driving about, and it's someone's neighbour, and they're all kicking you off because you're just accusing someone.
Of being dodgy because they've got a white van or whatever.
Yeah. So it's just really
People with too much
stuff,
time
that's
on their
all it
hands.
is. Yeah.
That are sitting around looking at like curtain twitchers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like that lady over there who I parked outside.
Avid listener of the podcast.
One thing I love about Facebook is the uni confession pages.
Oh yes.
See, I still don't use Facebook for them, but I get sent them all the time, and they are gold. Some of them.
Some of them are peak.
Manchester's used to be so good, and they've gone so downhill.
I'll be honest.
In lockdown, what have they got to talk about?
I follow the Manchester one.
Are you disappointed?
It's gone downhill, but it's better than Keels because
Really?
Oh my god! So what happened with Keels is that they somebody said something and somebody reported somebody to the university, and essentially what has been said was the university said they had to shut it down, even though it's a completely different organisation and it's just got the name of the university.
Well, just because one guy submitted it to
ours get taken down.
Ours was just called Kiel
weeks.
Fashions. It wasn't. It said it's not allied with the university in any way or anything like that. But they still said they had to shut it down.
Can't we just make a new one? Because ours is called Bangfest 7. Because there have been 7 iterations now of this confession space. Because they get taken down every few weeks, and then they just make a new one, and they just start again. Because it's all anonymous. Like, you know, it's completely anonymous, and you just send a message or whatever, and then they just post it. But sometimes they're really dodgy. Like, some of them are like looking for drugs, and then some of them are like, by the way.
Speaking of social media, do you remember at Boardmasters when there was that?
They had a Boardmasters social media.
They had an app with all the maps and the stages and the set times, and then they had a massive. Like, it was essentially Twitter, and you could just have like people would just post comments, and it was like the whole festival was on this app.
Yeah, and everyone at this festival.
There were some really dodgy things. There were things.
Nobody had internet signal.
The Boardmaster was relatively good signal, wasn't it?
So there was like PictoChat basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
It was a bit like.
But the only thing that was said on there was, "Has anyone seen Mandy or Gary or?"
It was essentially like Twitter for the festival, and a couple of things on there were things like, I mean, we were on the coach going down, and I was scrolling through this app, and one of the things was like, "Oh, does anyone know if there are going to be any sniffer dogs at the start? My mate's just lost his dog last week, and I don't want him to get triggered."
And it was always stuff like
yeah, you got it.
People, it was just constantly people who were like, "Oh, we've got too much alcohol, does anyone want to buy any of us?"
And it would be like £20 for 4 cans of Carling, because they knew that there were people
who couldn't buy alcohol. They were just selling people to underage alcohol. It was incredible. It was a whole system. Like, it was just 90% drug related though. It's like, oh, my friend Mandy got lost. She's going to be standing by this tent at this time. If you need me to help find Mandy or whatever, come here.
I get it.
Yeah, you get it.
Matt just had
Mandy is not a real friend.
She was lost with Wendy.
And Gary.
And Gary. Where have they gone? Mr. Jenkins was not happy.
New social media, Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins coming soon.
But yeah.
But, for festival stuff, do you think social media in general has helped the drug exposure to people?
Both yes and no, because you hear about stuff like Woodstock. Like, you like, that was like one of the ultimate drug festivals, and that was like, what, in the 60s?
Yeah.
But still, yeah, you know, these days it's a bit different from smoking a lot of weed or whatever, but now it's just like PCP. And
I think people may think it's got worse now, but like you said, Woodstock was bad. It's just because people can talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's why it seems worse.
Exactly, yeah. But then again, I think it's probably harder drugs now.
Because people used to like die at
I don't know.
They still do. When we were at Creamfields, people died.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not something that...
No, but
I'm not saying it's like fine, but it's not anything new, but I feel like
definitely
people
not.
say, oh, kids these days are so much worse.
Yeah. It's easier. It gets out more.
Yeah.
There's more exposure, which is probably helped by social media at some point. Well, the criticism part of it. Probably mostly that.
But then people post pictures of themselves doing it as well.
It's also
what?
Oh my god, have you not seen like Creamfields Exposed or something like that?
Yeah.
I saw in Creamfields on social media, on Facebook actually, people parked their cars outside of the festival, and this guy had a new Range Rover. He took a picture before, and then afterwards, half his car was gone. Like, his bonnet was gone, his rims were gone. Like,
stripped all the plastic.
Oh, this is the one.
Windscreen.
Have you ever seen Spotted and then insert music festival? So like the one that I like was Spotted Creamfields 2019.
What is it about?
It's essentially a collection of all of the dodgy videos that people have collected over the weekend at a festival.
Impressive.
So it's things like people like waking up and just being like completely fucked, and their mates video recording them, or I know people like surfing down hills on like airbeds.
Shaving on it.
Oh my god.
Luke at the festival was shaving, and he used his front-facing camera as a mirror, but he didn't realise he pressed record. He recorded himself just shaving.
Never know when you need to see.
But when you were saying like that guy who posted a photo of his car, that kind of links into something I wanted to talk about, which was influencer culture and how people use social media to kind of like show off a life which they, I mean, you know, I guess they have, but like, no, but
no,
like,
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Flex. Using it just to flex on people.
Yeah,
but
it may not be like you know, those aspects of your life, they are, you know, they do happen, but like people use it to like show a better
Just brag,
version of
yeah.
I definitely
themselves.
think Instagram is the worst offender.
Oh, 100%. Like people buying expensive vodka or whatever in a club that they usually wouldn't be able to afford and then holding it just for a picture.
Yeah.
Or somebody else buying it for them.
Yeah.
That's not the worst offender. I think worst offender is just, I don't want to say people showing off their bodies, but people showing, giving an unnatural view of themselves.
What, photoshopping themselves and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah.
That you can usually see by like the warped door next to
The
them.
C
or...
kind of has a him on it.
But at the same time, like, people that have a big platform, like, should they be doing that when they know a lot of people look up to them, want to be like them, and they're just kind of putting out this image that isn't them?
Isn't necessarily them, yeah.
See, I don't know, because some of the influencers who I follow, I was talking to you earlier about this actually, that they post pictures of themselves in like a bikini or somewhere by the sea and do like fitness videos or whatever. But I think that is their lives almost, but because not
They live
everybody's
their
lives
lives
is
for
like
social
that,
media.
it gives an unnatural opinion in that sense. But I think it's not necessarily their responsibility, because at the end of the day, that is what they do. They make money from Instagram promoting
Adverts
things.
and
They literally they work out, take a picture, promote, eat, whatever. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So
It's difficult to say, because you want to say, oh, post what you want, but then you can also say, like, oh, if you're like an influencer, you shouldn't be posting that. But then at the same time, you can't do both.
but
then
Yeah.
you can start to get very dangerous things on social media, like a lot of these like dieting.
Oh god.
God, like
things.
Sarah's Discovery. I constantly get
is that
see
on,
things for that.
Oh, is that the page that I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Sarah's Discovery.
I think Cornhub posts about that all the time. Yeah, quality meme page though. Gonna plug that.
I follow Rowing Hub.
Oh yeah, that is the exact one that I was thinking of. Yeah,
Because
there's
it's
like five.
It's always like they post a meme or whatever, and then you swipe across one, and it's like a picture of like someone who's a bit like bigger, and then like a very skinny version of them next to them, and it says, "Wow, thanks to Sarah's Discovery, I've lost 4 stone in 3 days."
I've never heard of that.
Me neither.
Oh, that is no, really, I see it all the time.
Let's find.
But I guess that's just, I don't know. It doesn't even seem relevant to the posts you see it with. I guess people just pay.
But you look at it, and it's always a DM me for credit or removal, so you can tell that they haven't given the photograph to them to do it. And then all the comments are turned off.
And they're usually photoshopped.
Yeah, they're either usually photoshopped
Or just a completely different person.
Yeah, or they will say like, "Oh, I managed to lose something ridiculous like 2 stone in like 2 weeks."
But-
something that's like physically unhealthy to lose.
You were saying that's a almost negative thing, that you see somebody always posting like a unnatural thing of themselves, but doesn't that in a way does that kind of motivate you in some way, in some respect?
Yeah.
It does, but then again, there's this person, and they've got like a use this drug,
But
take
it's not
these
always
pills
just
that I
use the drug,
take.
does it? I mean, just a natural.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying like, oh,
Just
don't
the
post this. Like,
image of
post what you want. But I'm just saying like a lot of people say about sort of like these influencers posting like Photoshop pictures, and then young girls like seeing it and thinking, why don't I look like that, when it's kind of
Yeah.
fake.
I definitely
anyway.
think it's.
I mean, have you seen what was it? One of the Kardashians, was it Khloe Kardashian?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at her like a couple of years ago and now, it's completely different.
I think.
I'm not shaming anybody in any way. It's just that is the power of like,
But
that is what we can do nowadays.
I want to talk about Adele in a minute, but wouldn't you say that it's not necessary? I mean, I don't know how to phrase this. So say you look at someone and you're motivated to try and get like them, so you do some like fitness exercises and whatever. But
yeah.
that's not the issue. It's the issue of when you start doing it and you don't notice anything, and then you realise that you can't be like that, and then it makes you spiral
I think
down.
that sort of thing can
that's
definitely be bad for people's mental health, especially like younger teens
younger.
or like
when they physically can't be like that because they're just not.
and sometimes they never will be, even if they try their best. Like,
I mean, I've lost a bit of weight recently.
you've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
It's an under exaggeration.
Where's Luke? Where's the rest of them?
But yeah, but going back to Khloe Kardashian, a lot of people, kind of have a go at her for editing her pictures. But, when she was first becoming famous, a lot of people would, give negative comments about her looks, and you could say it's social media that made her edit her pictures in the first place, because there's Kim and Kourtney, her two sisters, that are kind of like, they were quite
competition
petite,
or whatever, yeah.
And then they're like, oh, Khloe.
Society's role in it has caused them to do that.
If your friends edit their pictures before they post them, and that makes you look worse, then I guess it's going to make you want to edit your pictures before you post them.
But if someone like Adele, who just went on a weight loss and then posted a picture of herself, and then that got huge backlash, and I personally just thought I was kind of happy for her.
She's lost weight.
You're proud of your transformation or whatever.
You've probably done something which you've been wanting to do for ages, just because you haven't felt happy that way, and you post a picture and then you get even more bashed for it. I think don't understand.
That's one of the things with social media. Either way, you're if you're famous, you're going to get bashed to it no matter what. If you say like, oh, I'm bigger and proud of it, then people are going to be like, ha, you're fat or whatever. And then if you've lost a load of weight, people are going to say, oh, you're just doing that for the views or whatever.
Because I didn't.
Or you're fat shaming somebody because you've decided that it is.
People don't want to. A lot of people don't want you to be happy or whatever, no matter what you've done. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can't please everyone. There's
exactly.
Like on our biscuit review, you disliked it.
A lot of people disliked it.
Jaffa cakes.
I think actually, almost everyone who I've spoke to the video about has said we have poor taste in biscuits.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're the one who disliked Jaffa cakes.
Grim.
Just saying, bourbons are the elite biscuit.
Thing is, I reckon if you tried one now, you would take that back.
What do you mean?
They sound like they taste good, and I have an image in my head of them tasting good, but then when I tried them for the biscuit review, they were not up to the standard at which I thought they were.
They're my main snack at uni, so...
Oh, okay, fair enough.
What, instead of custard creams? That's surprising.
Yeah, I love bourbons.
But yeah, I think that with a lot of these things, social media, everybody always posts their highest things on social media, and you very rarely see lots of people doing it.
I mean, I'm guilty of this because I posted a picture of all of us from when we were together the other day, and I edited the pictures just to give them a bit of style. I didn't put a filter actually. I made my own filter because I love them.
Edgy.
But I didn't blemish the faces. It's just some of them were low quality, so I put them through a upscaler and I upscaled it just so it gives it a bit more crisp. I sharpened it. I just made it look nice.
But you didn't open any tools and start individually changing?
No, but I just think by naturally doing that, you make everything look nicer. You naturally make yourself look nicer, don't you? And that sort of fuels
I got some hate for that picture. I'm not going to say anything here, but I'll tell you later, but yeah.
What about your shoes?
No. If that was about my shoes, then I'd kick off.
You were like, get the shoes in.
I got to flex the J's, which is literally what we've been talking about, flexing on social media.
I mean, you see like all of these people. I mean, if you look... Okay, I'm going to go to David Goggins because David Goggins has been inspirational for me.
Wait. Just to clarify for the listeners, because definitely not for me, but for the listeners, can you describe who David Goggins is?
So David Goggins was a man,
like Bob Ross.
So David Goggins was I believe he was 297 pounds, and he was spraying for cockroaches. And one day he turned around and said, I don't want this to be the rest of my life. So I think in the space of 3 months, he lost 100 pounds. He turned into it. He signed up for the US Armed Forces. He became a Navy SEAL. He went through 3 hell weeks in 1 year, and he's now an ultra marathon runner. And he went from. I
think I know who you mean. Is he the guy with because he's lost so much weight and gained muscle, but he's still got sort of loose skin on him?
Well, I guess if you lose that much weight, yeah.
But yeah, it's good that social media can have a good influence on people and like how it can inspire people to do better.
So that was him before.
Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else.
Too bad, to be fair.
That's not that heavy.
And
wait, before he lost all the weight?
That was him before he lost all the weight.
That's really not that bad, to be honest. I was expecting a lot more.
I'm going to try and find a photograph because I don't want it to start spouting off at me. And that is David
Also,
Goggins now.
We're an audio. Oh wow!
It's like he was bulking and then he just decided to cut.
To be fair, he probably was halfway there.
Yeah.
Like on the bulk. Also, the audio-friendly podcast.
And a lot of the thing, and if you look at a lot of the things that he says about social media, he makes a very good point. Actually, he says what you see on social media is what people want you to see.
Literally.
You don't see, with a lot of the things, you don't see the graft that goes behind it. Everybody always posts I did this excellent thing, XYZ, and I did it, this is amazing, but you don't see the sorts of things where you don't see like the late nights people put in, the early mornings,
you see people driving around in their Lamborghini or whatever, but you don't see them working 7 days a week for 3 years to be able to afford it.
I mean, like with just in like the medical influencer circle, you see lots of these like lovely books and drawings that people have made, or you see people like Smiley and stuff like that, but you don't see especially in America, you don't see like the 3 a.m. starts, the night shifts, the all-nighters that people pull and stuff. You don't see it. It's you
just see the successes.
Yeah, and I think that's the dangerous bit, because people look at these things and they look at these influencers and they say, oh, I can see that these people are doing these things and they only post positive things. They're not having to pull these all-nighters or late nights or early starts to do all of it. And then that starts to get people thinking, well, if they're not doing it and I have to do that, does that mean that I'm not good enough? And I think the thing that I like about David Goggins is that you can see he does all of these muscle and workout things, but you also see him, and he talks a lot about this, he talks a lot about how there were days in the army where he would have to duct tape his legs up to run on broken shins.
Ooh.
And he says a lot about how he had to go through all of this like hard work, and he would wake up every day and he would hate it, and he would be essentially at the end of things. And to me that was like, it's one person who says, look at all the good that I've managed to do, but here's not just the good, here's the bad. This is all the effort that I had to put in, is all the late nights, the hard work that I had to put into these things. If you read his book as well, he talks a lot about that in there.
Social media is just a physical form of the human
ego,
aspiration, or ego. Yeah, even that. People are scared of failures. People are scared in not achieving what they want to, and so why would you post your journey there when you're not certain that you'll reach that goal? You would only post the success to show that, okay, I went this. You wouldn't.
People post the destination, not the journey that it took them to get there.
Exactly, and the journey is probably the most interesting part in that, because that's what makes everybody more human. It's not just a picture.
Apart from travel vloggers, they post the journey too.
They don't post planning the journey though. Sitting up to 4 a.m. going, Trivago doesn't have the right place.
Damn it, Airbnb.
But yeah.
That is for social media. That is one thing I want to try one day. I want to try travel vlogging. I think that would be awesome. Go into like random places around the world.
I really want to do the Pan American Highway.
Pan American.
So it starts in North America.
Oh.
I'm not sure if it starts in Canada, but it definitely is in the US, and it goes all the way down Mexico.
I hate to inform you, but that Canada is not in the US.
North America.
Yeah.
So Canada
is above the US.
So I'm not sure if it starts in Canada. But
I thought you said the US.
Okay.
But, you still know what I mean?
But it goes all the way down to Mexico, and then it crosses into South America
as a road trip.
And then it's one highway you can follow. I mean, it's pretty much motorway in America, but then you get to like dirt tracks in South America, and I think that would be really cool just to do in just like a really rubbishy car or something.
Maybe not that rubbishy.
Wouldn't get you there.
Well, not even that. I mean, if you knew enough about cars, I would want to just
like the ultimate Top Gear road trip. That is the sort of
like
thing
when
I'd
they like converted
do.
one of their cars into like a mobile workshop, so that if the car broke down,
James
they
is the little globe in the front. Definitely didn't watch that yesterday.
YouTube has driven these kind of dreams because I never had it. There was a guy who went to the least visited country in the world. I think it's Tuvalu.
Tuvalu's pretty far up there.
It's literally.
It's going to get swallowed by the sea in like 10 years, but
I think. Sorry.
It's a good answer on pointless Tuvalu.
Yeah. What the websites that have .tv at the end? What was the country's thing? That's Tuvalu.
Oh, yeah.
But then places by the...
But then there was a guy who went there, and he literally said he had to take 3 flights or whatever, and he got there, and everybody was so friendly there because they don't see tourists. There's like one hotel, and it's just this long strip, and there's a lake in the middle or whatever.
Next holiday?
I watch a guy called...
ChinWag Travels.
I watch a guy called Drew Binsky. I think that's how you say his name. And he's like a travel vlogger who's going to every single country in the world. And I think he's got like 7 countries left or something like that. But he does like a vlog for every single one, and he talks about like the culture in each different one.
That's really cool.
It's really cool.
I definitely want to do something like that. But that's definitely social media has influenced me to do that. I wouldn't think that I want to. But has it forced me to think if I do that I'm not doing what people are doing, or has it inspired me to do something?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing.
See, I would join you on the Pan America trip. Was it Pan America?
Yeah. Or I want to do the Silk Road.
What's the Silk Road?
It goes from, I think it's somewhere in China. It might be Beijing, and it goes all the way to Tehran in Iran.
Really? Oh, that sounds cool.
Because isn't that the furthest you can go just on land, like that journey?
No, because I think you can go further. Tehran, you can keep going from Tehran all the way to the edge of Spain if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the Silk Road. That's like a thing.
It was a famous trade route in the past.
Yeah.
It was to take silk from one side of Europe all the way to the other.
It'd be cool to do it like a Top Gear.
But the video I saw was then they did it on bikes, just standard bikes. They
like push bikes.
Yeah,
pedal bikes.
Like a push bike.
Pedal bike.
Like a
but not like a motorbike.
No, like a pedal.
Oh
pedal,
God!
Like a bicycle.
Their thighs by the end of it.
Well, no,
Could be looking like that.
I think they went slowly, and then they just stopped up everywhere and just explored the culture and did it. I thought that's really cool.
How long did it take?
It just shows
them?
how easy it is to just do it.
Yeah.
No, I think like 3 months.
Which one's this? The Pan America?
No, the
Silk Road.
I think it's only about 1,000. No, it must be more than 1,000 miles. But I think it's over like 90 days. That's not terrible.
No, yeah.
If that's what you're doing. But I want to do something like that.
But back to you saying, I picked up on you said that Tuvalu wasn't like visited much. I've noticed, well, not just me personally, but someone on Twitter said this, that social media is so westernized. Like whether you live in the USA or not, you seem to always know about what's going on because it's quite big on social media. But we don't hear news about Tuvalu on social media. So
it could be underwater now. It could be experiencing mass.
It's getting there. But then again, with a place like Tuvalu, the population is like, there's like only 100 people there or something like that.
Doesn't mean it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but like you're less likely to hear from someone from Tuvalu than you are from someone from the US with a bigger population, if you know what I mean.
Maybe not Tuvalu, I'm just using that as an example, but there's like, the USA is not the only place on Earth.
Yeah, definitely. But
I see a lot of stuff from India though.
On Instagram, I have noticed, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but people have always been posting things about helping other countries. So I know there was this whole movement about Yemen not being covered by the news, and it was going under the civil war, and it was pretty much crumbling. And there was this movement on Instagram or Twitter where people post information about it so people can read about it, and it kind of gained so much movement that it was covered by the news for a bit.
Yeah.
So I think...
But then again, I think that stuff can be great, but also I think that stuff can be... I'm not saying the Yemen thing was, but it could quite easily be the source of misinformation.
Definitely.
Because people who aren't qualified to judge things or to talk about things, talk about topics, like that was the whole vaccine thing, because everyone's like, oh, vaccines are bad for you. And I know we all know that Luke believes that, and knows that they are real, but people thought, they're hiding things and the government aren't telling us this, we're going to spread this information ourselves.
Yeah.
And then... obviously they're spreading false information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it has upsides, but it doesn't annoy me or as much. It's just more and more people seem to be starting to doing it. So it's not necessarily you want to be involved in all these movements, such as, well, actually I'm not going to name a movement because they're all quite important. But if you don't necessarily want to, if you want to not. You can read about it, but if you don't want to read about it, it kind of overloads you, if you get what I mean. It's like a fine line. But
sometimes
people are
things
posting about like veganism or whatever. There was one account I was following who I unfollowed now, but she literally posted just vegan things on her stories. Like there would be 10 stories of just vegan every single day about why you should eat meat. And I was like, I understand your view, but there are also...
counter views and opinions,
and I don't necessarily want to just be seeing your view.
People with a lot of these things, people are okay with it being people like, for example, your vegan thing. Like people, it's okay to be vegan, and everybody. And at this point in history, veganism is accepted now.
And it's fashionable.
It's accepted now. But as soon as people start to force other people's opinions and beliefs on other people, that's when people get annoyed, irate, and start arguments.
It was almost as if she was shaming people who weren't vegan, saying, "Look what you're doing. You're horrible."
Thing is, like, a lot of vegans are like, "Oh, you know, I'm vegan. I don't eat meat or eggs or cheese or whatever," you know, and that's chill. But then there's other vegans that are like militant vegans, like, if you eat meat, I will chain myself to your house.
Like I've had in my flat at university, two of my flatmates were vegans, and one of them has cooked vegan food for me, and it was lovely. I'm not going to lie, it was really nice. He's a brilliant chef, and it was really good, nice food. I like the food, but it's not going to make me change my views at it.
There's so many arguments for veganism, and I think, in my opinion, the most important one is the environmental one. When people say it's a health reason, that's when I start to think.
Yeah, health reason.
Necessarily.
You take your health into your own hands, and that's your responsibility, and it shouldn't matter to other people. Well, within reason, it shouldn't matter to other people. But yeah, I do see what you mean about the environmental impact.
But none of the vegans that I've ever met have said you're a horrible person for eating meat.
Well, they just ignore you.
Yeah.
Shunned.
But that's the important thing.
I've got friends who are vegan, and like, you know, if we do a meal together, we'll just cook something vegan, or if we make a curry or whatever, we'll put the chicken in after or whatever. But then there has been one experience where, back in my hall's kitchen, a couple of years ago now, I think I was cooking bacon or something like that, and there was a vegan in the room who was like, "Excuse me, can you not do that with me present?" Like in my own kitchen in some ways. So it was a bit like, oh.
I get funny about this. Are you veggie or vegan? Sorry.
No.
Okay. I was only asking because I was going to see if this is actually a thing. But when I borrow people's stuff in the kitchen and there's a vegan or a veggie, and I want to, I don't know, fry something or bake
cook a
something
sausage in a vegan's pan.
Yeah, or have meat on someone's plate when I'm eating. I don't know whether it's just me who thinks this, but I've definitely encountered someone who in the past has said this. So when I'm around my flatmates now, I'm always like, I'm not going to do it, because if you're a vegan and you get offended if I put some meat on your plate.
I mean, I knew somebody who we were at a bar once, and she wanted just plain tap water, but because of I believe it was her religious beliefs, and don't quote me on it, she couldn't have something out of a glass that had alcohol in it. Yeah,
I think that's usually a religious thing,
and I completely understand that. And of course, you've got to be accommodating for people.
Yeah.
But it was, but of course, and that's completely fine. So she had to have a glass of tap water, but she couldn't have it in a glass. She had to have it in a brand new plastic cup, because the bartender couldn't guarantee that the Fanta or Coke branded cups.
Because at the end of the day,
contain nuts. I mean, you don't want to.
Of course,
belief, then if it could contain alcohol, why would you?
You wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, you're not just going to say, "Oh yeah, this has never ever had alcohol in it," when potentially it most likely could have if it's at a bar.
If it's at a bar, and that's absolutely fine.
And you could just be like all waved after having that glass of water.
and you can understand why they wouldn't do that.
But,
it's the thing. Yeah, I see what you mean about though cooking with, you know,
I don't know, maybe it's,
equipment.
I mean,
because some people are probably chill with it.
Do you live with vegetarians or vegans?
No, my mum's Muslim, so she doesn't eat pork, but she's quite laid back about it. So, like, she wouldn't eat it herself, but there's been times where she's been like, if you want to cook pork, I don't mind.
Yeah.
And the other night she was like asking what I wanted for dinner, and she was like, oh, there's still some pork chops left. And I was like, no, I won't eat it because I'm cooking for you as well. And she's like, I don't mind, I'll have something else. So she's quite laid back. I feel like it's one of those things.
It is personal. Yeah. So like some people might be like, I'm a vegan, but you can borrow my pan to cook your sausage or whatever. But then some people are like, I'm a vegan, I'd rather you didn't use my pan to cook anything that's not vegan.
I think that with a lot of these things, of course, there are legitimate reasons why people wouldn't want it, but the majority of the time it is personal choice.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring it up is, again, bringing it back to social media, the reason I'm more aware about it is because of social media.
And I think that's one of the good things about social media. It has opened your eyes to other people's beliefs. You may not necessarily share them, but it can help you take other people's decisions into consideration.
The danger is when it opens your
eyes to the wrong beliefs.
Eyes to the wrong beliefs. Yeah.
You're like that's. I mean, that happened. I mean, remember when we were in school, we kept on getting those assemblies about radicalization, like don't talk to people on Instagram who may like tell you to do certain things, because like. I remember that was a huge deal. I don't know if it still is in schools, but that was a massive deal for a while.
I'm sure it is now. It's probably more important than it has ever been.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that social media, it's got pros and cons. It does open your eyes to the world, but it can also influence you, and in certain ways, the influence can be bad.
Yeah,
massively.
It's almost it's a self-control, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to. It's to your own taste, and I think a lot of people can tell when it's having a negative impact on them deep down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, it's quite an easy thing to get addicted to. But that's like...
It's designed to be addictive.
Oh yeah,
it's literally
like
designed...
90% of people our age, I think it is, have phantom vibration syndrome or something like that, where you feel your phone go off in your pocket, but it's not really gone off. It's just your brain imagining it.
Yeah. And I'd say most people, when they post pictures, you always like... Even if you don't want to, like I wish I was one of those people. I didn't care how many likes my pictures get, but I still check, and I'm like, oh, why hasn't that one got as many likes?
On like Snapchats, you just occasionally check the story and see like, oh, who's seen it?
Yeah. You pretend, you feel like you shouldn't care about something, but in the end, you sort of do care if people have liked or whatever.
It's most vulnerable for people who either, like for now, don't have a lot of good things going on in their life because of COVID reasons, but it's vulnerable for people who have first been exposed to it and see this new world. So I think it's just important for moderation. But it has its benefit.
But then again, you also have security concerns and data, of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That's the thing though. Like a lot of people, and like the American currently president is like, you know, we've got to ban TikTok because it's stealing your data.
It's so sick. I don't get this anti-China thing. I don't understand.
I think it's more political than it is about people's data. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, the data that they're stealing is not exactly national secrets and nuclear documents. It's, I've watched this. I've Googled that.
Face making funny.
I think the main reason that Donald Trump wants to ban TikTok is it's something to do with the belief that the government... I'm saying belief because it hasn't been confirmed or denied.
You would say that, wouldn't you? It's a TikTok.
Be very BBC of you, Luke.
No, because it hasn't. But it's the belief that the parent company ByteDance has supposedly had funding from the Chinese government. So Donald Trump believes that that ByteDance are selling users' data to the Chinese government.
I'm sure it's had funding by the Chinese government.
And there is a separate version of the app that is in China that does communicate with it, but it's got a completely separate name, separate servers in separate locations. But TikTok have said that the American data stays in it. All of the American data is contained on servers in the US.
I mean, like, but no matter what, right? What's the difference between Facebook selling your data to American markets and TikTok selling your? Even if they were, I'm not saying they are. And TikTok selling your data to Chinese market. Like at the end of the day, if your data is being stolen, there's no difference between where it's being sold. Like if they were banning TikTok for stealing your data, then they should clearly ban. I'm not saying they should, but they should clearly ban Facebook for stealing your data too, because they do, you know, just exactly the same thing.
And Google and Twitter and all of these other companies.
A lot of people don't understand. Get panicked about the data that's being taken about them because they don't understand the data that is being taken about them. I mean, 90% of it, 99% of it is just the things you're interested in and the things you do online, so that it can then be used against you in a marketing situation.
It's all business.
And if you look at the new in iOS 14, there's a new thing that is coming into the App Store, and Facebook apparently kicked off about it. That if you look on the there's a new tab called App Privacy, and it tells you exactly what data each app takes from your phone to run.
Like
so it'll ask you, pardon?
That's like Firefox. I can see all the trackers, which is blocked.
Yeah. So it'll say this is going to take your IP address, your email address, your personal ads, and also there's a new tool as well where in iOS 14 where a little orange dot appears in the top right hand corner every time the microphone and the camera on the phone on any app activate.
I think that is good and that is important, having like some sort of, you know, camera awareness.
Just so you're aware, I think.
Yeah. Because I have that set up on my PC. Like if my USB mic is being used, or if my webcam is on, you get a big light around my webcam.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now I know that if someone is watching me, I know, even though you can't quite easily
it's on a hardware level, I think it's important to have it. I think in a software level isn't good enough because somebody can always change the software.
Yeah.
You need a hardware connection to the camera that will tell you every time that it goes on.
Yeah.
As a final thought on social media, what would you say? What would you add? Sorry, as
about social media.
Just as an overall arching thing.
Like with most things, there's always going to be negatives to it, but there's obviously positives that have come out of it. And I think especially like over lockdown, people needed social media because you could meet up with people. So I think this year it's been especially good, but you can't deny that there are negatives to it still.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Yeah. Especially your point about over lockdown, like without social media over lockdown, I would have gone crazy because like talking to everyone is important, and like I feel like if there was no social media, lockdown would have been broken 10 times more because people would just be lonely and they just go and see their friends anyway, rather than having the excuse of I can just text them or call them or FaceTime them or whatever,
or Zoom them.
Exactly. Or even though I despise Zoom.
Discord.
So yeah, what do you think? Final closing thoughts then, Matt?
Yeah, it's got its benefits and drawbacks. Personally, as much as I say that social media has got its benefits, I do feel like it has more drawbacks. I feel like when people are more detached from social media, they are a lot more inspired to do things for themselves, and their mental health generally improves, and there's a lot less obligation to do things for others when you can just think about yourself. So I think it's good in moderation, and it shouldn't take over your life. You should be able to look at Instagram, go through your feed and say, okay, this is cool, but now I'm going to go and do something. And that's what I think needs to happen more. Yeah,
I agree with that. If I was to say my final sum up or whatever, I'd say it can be amazing and it can have massive benefits to both businesses and individuals, like, because social media is like a massive marketing tool for businesses now.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah,
that's what ChinWag uses.
The only thing ChinWag uses. But like, I think it can also have like massive negative mental health like drawbacks as like just to individuals. So yeah.
Luke,
I think that social media has brought everybody close together, especially during a lockdown. It's brought people close together, and it's opened the world up. But what it's opened the world up to is still yet to be decided.
The world isn't ready.
Such a cliffhanger, like, ending piece to it, like, what's going to happen next?
Because it's opened...
I think that sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Find out in 10 years on the sequel.
Yeah,
podcast,
I mean...
Season 10.
Virtual reality podcast at that point.
We'll be sitting next to you and you'll be involved.
Yeah, you'll be you'll be the fifth guest.
It's like the Star Wars when they call people and like the holograms or whatever.
Yeah.
That'll be us sitting around a table, but there'll be a spare seat for you.
That actually is a spare seat.
Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
Have you got anyone else got anything else to say?
To be honest, Luke, I think we all summed it up perfectly. Yeah. That's a good place.
Thank you for watching the podcast. This has been ChinWag.
It's with your regular hosts, me, Matt.
Me, Tom.
Me, Luke.
And our special guest.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Sorry.
See you later.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.